We've got lots to talk about today, including the fact that GPUs are likely to get more expensive starting next year, even more evidence for that being the case, but also right now GPU prices looking pretty good. I've now seen a 5060 Ti 16GB version drop as low as $369, which is pretty nice, whereas AMD's competing 9060 XT 16GB has now dropped below MSRP on Amazon to $339.98. Also, their 8GB version has dropped back to $250, which matches a previous low I'd seen, and it has been higher than that recently. And the 5070 is available as low as $490, well below its MSRP, and AMD's 9070 XT is still hitting its MSRP, which is rare when you look at the history since launch, of $600. But again, GPU pricing may be about to get worse. I reported on a previous video about kind of behind the scenes information on the board channels forums, talking about AMD telling board partners that RAM shipment prices are going up, meaning the cost will be passed on to board partners who have low margins, so they'll pass that on to the consumer, but we didn't have specific dates for when a lot of that would take effect. Now, PowerColor is one of the board partners, and on the PowerColor subreddit, we have PowerColor Steven, who is an official PowerColor representative, telling us these pieces of information. Number one, if you're looking at buying a PowerColor GPU on Black Friday sales, probably wait until Sunday in the US region, because that's when their already locked in promotions schedule officially kicks in. By the way, again, that's PowerColor specific, so we don't know if, for example, like this will be the best deal we get from MSI, or if something else is coming in, or from Asus, Gigabyte, etc. So again, this is PowerColor specific. But they mention then buy before the last week of the year before prices kick up. That really sounds a lot like that whole AMD told board partners that next shipments are getting more expensive due to RAM price increases. Now, if you're looking at Black Friday deals, though, there's some other crazy good stuff, because, well, RAM prices suck right now, and that could eventually lead to GPU prices getting bad. Monitor prices are good right now. I'm finding this OLED, QD OLED from MSI, 27-inch 1440p, 240 hertz, again, QD OLED, and I am seeing this as low as $420, but with another $30 off promo code for Black Friday, hitting $390, which seems like a pretty crazy good deal for a 1440p 240 hertz OLED. And let me tell you about another great deal. Let's be honest, some of you really need to upgrade your chair. Forgetting about the chair when upgrading your gaming PC setup is a huge mistake, and frankly, what some of you are doing is a bit embarrassing. What you need is a high-quality ergonomic office chair like the Flexispot C7M that Flexispot recently sent me, and a huge thanks to Flexispot for sponsoring this part of today's video. Actually, this is my second one because my mother-in-law claimed my first one after house sitting one evening and having the best nap of her life after extending the footrest. My back used to give me all sorts of problems after long gaming or working sessions at my desk, but the adaptive lumbar support on the C7M has helped me so much. Seriously, your back will thank you for this upgrade. The C7M also has so many other annoying problems solved. A mesh back solves those sweaty long gaming sessions, and adjustable height armrests solves the annoying problem where you get a chair that you can't actually get to sit flush with your desk or reach an appropriate height for reaching your mouse and keyboard comfortably. The Flexispot C7M armrests have a truly impressive range of motion, allowing them to rotate forward, backward, inside, and outside to get into perfect position. And unlike most office chairs, I can rotate the arms far enough out of the way to play my guitar comfortably. I used to have to use a separate chair just for guitar. There's also an adjustable height back, the seat can move forward and backward, and there is a 3D adjustable headrest. This allows the chair to adapt perfectly to your body, and when you want to kick back for some controller-based gaming, just pull out that footrest and it's perfect. With a 30-day return policy and 10-year warranty with direct replacement for damaged parts, there's no reason not to check out the sponsored link in the video description or pinned comment to upgrade to a Flexispot ergonomic office chair today. And Black Friday is on at Flexispot. Enjoy up to 60% off site-wide and get an extra $30 off the C7 Max with code C730, the biggest savings of the year. Grab yours now. So again, again, with all the GPU pricing doom and gloom, it is important to remember that like if your GPU is fine right now, you don't need to actually rush out and buy. Again, like for example, coming from the Power Color representative who obviously wants to sell some GPUs, even he is saying this message isn't for people who are not planning on picking up a GPU. It's for people who have already been or plan. Anyway, he's talking about messaging him about deals, etc. But the point is right now, again, yes, it is very likely that GPU pricing is going to go up next year by some amount. We can't predict exactly how much. But again, if you're fine with the graphics card you have right now, that doesn't mean you need to go out and buy something you can't really afford, right? But again, these deals that I mentioned at the beginning of the video, like a 5060 Ti 16 gigabyte for $369, I doubt we'll see something massively more exciting than this for quite a while. And I think that this is a solid GPU choice for a mainstream buyer. A 5060 Ti 16 gigabyte is going to be a good GPU for 1080p or 1440p for quite a while. Again, make sure it's that 16 gigabyte version. Again, the 9060 XT from AMD with the 16 gigabyte version, this is similar performance to that 5060 Ti for $30 less, but the 5060 Ti is a few percent faster and does get the Nvidia feature set, which does tend to, DLSS 4 in more games than FSR 4 is, multi-frame gen versus just frame gen, etc., that type of thing. Again, if you don't have more money than this. In fact, if you don't have this much money, the 8GB the 9060 XT 8GB version, I don't love 8GB cards here, but at $250, I start to just be like, okay, you're at the budget end, you're going to accept some compromises, and it is the same raw performance as the 16GB version. So this really does make a lot of sense for a lot of people. If you're playing games at just reduced graphic settings, or you play older games, esports games, etc., then really the 8GB does still get the job done, and $250 for this much performance is actually really, really good price to performance. Just be aware that the latest AAA games at maximum settings do go over 8GB of VRAM, so you will have to be dealing with that. Now, again, I do get affiliate link commissions off Amazon links. I don't have that with Walmart or with Newegg right now. So anyway, I just want to disclose that, but I'm not making this video to tell you to rush out and buy if you don't need to. I am trying to just present the best deals available here. Again, the 5070 is only 12 gigabytes. It is better than the 5060 Ti 16 gigabyte, though. I would rather have the additional 30% performance. 12 gigabytes in a few titles is problematic at 1440p at the absolute max settings, but you can, again, tweak settings a little bit. And again, if you do have additional budget beyond this kind of $500 price point, the $600 price point does get you the 9070 XT, which does get you back to 16 gigabytes of VRAM and is noticeably faster than a 5070. I would rather have a 9070 XT than a 5070. Again, it is the AMD ecosystem and the software feature set as opposed to the Nvidia one, but you do just get increased performance and increased VRAM for that extra $100. I do think it is worth it. Past this point, I haven't seen a lot of crazy deals. So, up to you. And again, you can keep your eye out to see if we do get these additional discounts coming in as we get into the next week. Let's move into some other news topics, though. So, Qualcomm is claiming that their next generation of Snapdragon processors on, running Windows games is in good shape. They're claiming 90% game compatibility and 50% faster gaming when compared with Intel's Core Ultra 2 series when talking about the Adreno X2 GPU. Now, this is first-party claims. I haven't seen any third-party reviews of this to back it up yet, so we'll really just have to see how this plays out. It's going to be interesting to keep an eye on the, Windows on ARM space, especially for gaming, and what that compatibility looks like. Now, speaking of this comparison with Intel's integrated GPUs, though, Intel is looking to be launching their next generation of processors looking like at CES 2026. Notice they're announcing to join us in Las Vegas January 5 through 9, 2026 for CES and experience the global launch of the latest Intel Core Ultra Series 3 processors, codenamed Panther Lake. This, to my knowledge, is the first client computing launch for something based on Intel's 18A node. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. And I believe these also feature Intel's latest graphics revision, which is XE3, which they're not calling Celestial. Anyway, I guess they're waiting for a more major revision to move into the Celestial branding. But anyway, so major Intel announcement coming in January. Now, moving on to some other information. If you're speaking of the gaming on Windows situation, the latest, well, not the latest Windows, might be the latest Windows update, a recent Windows update on October of 2025, the KB5066835 update caused some degraded performance on Nvidia GPUs, and they are now releasing a hotfix driver, 581.94, which is now available, which can fix that issue. Hotfix drivers are not run through as much rigorous testing as the main driver releases, I believe. I don't think it's gone through the WHQL process yet. So it's generally best to stay on, the stable release drivers unless you're encountering problems that the hotfix target. So if you haven't been upset with your performance degrading with the latest update, then maybe don't bother with this. But if you know playing a game that had degraded performance and you noticed it, maybe try this hotfix, see if that helps you out. And if you're looking at avoiding the Windows gaming experience and are thinking about the Steam machine, in my video, and it seems like other people had similar ideas about the Steam machine, I had mentioned they would be completely out of their minds not to offer a companion cube skin for the Steam machine. And it looks like dbrand has that covered. I'm not sponsored by dbrand. I'm just mentioning they are having a companion cube announced for a Steam machine skin, which I think is absolutely perfect. And I'm glad that they're doing that. Now, speaking of the Steam machine, there's been some discussion about the price. The fact of the matter is we're probably not going to hear the price until right when they're launching it because of RAM prices increasing so quickly right now. And there's always the possibility of tariffs changing, et cetera, and all of those things can affect the pricing. So I don't think Valve can really tell us exactly what it costs yet. So they're probably waiting right before launch to give us that pricing target. However, people hoping for around the $500 console-ish pricing are probably going to be severely disappointed. We see a lot of articles talking about this. The best quote seems to be coming from Linus, who on the WAN show had this direct quote. When I said I'm disappointed it isn't going to follow a console pricing model where it is subsidized by the fact that the manufacturer is going to be taking 30% of every game sold on it over the lifespan of this thing, because I feel that would be a more meaningful product, they asked, meaning Valve asked him, what I meant by console price. And I said $500. So that's Linus talking to the Valve employees at the event showcasing the Steam machine. Now, the Valve employees in the room, nobody said anything, but the energy in the room wasn't great. So, in other words, when throwing out the $500-ish at console price tag, Valve employees did not seem thrilled by that idea. So, sounds like it's going to be more than that. From what we can tell, Valve is not going to be subsidizing the price because, okay, because again, that's how consoles work, right? They can sell the hardware at a loss with the understanding that every software piece sold on that gets them a 30% cut and they make money. Now, Valve does take that 30% cut on games sold on Steam. The issue is, though, that the Steam machine is a computer. You could just install Windows on it, or you could choose to buy games from other stores, etc., or just use it as a computer for non-gaming purposes, which means that if they just sold this hardware at a massive loss, then people could just buy it and use it as just a computer for other purposes besides gaming, etc., And now Valve is just taking a hit on all those sales. Now, I don't know how likely that would be, but depending on how subsidized the price got, if you just offer a really good mini PC where you're literally taking a loss on the hardware sales, then yeah, I mean, you could see actual just businesses buying those, et cetera, right? Like, so I understand that Valve is in a bit of a pinch there on their ability to subsidize like that. What I'm hoping is that they could at least basically sell at cost, with the understanding that at least they don't lose money if somebody buys it for a different purpose, but then they make money on anybody who buys Steam games because of it. So that would be my hope. We'll have to see what comes out. Again, the closer to the $1,000 mark this gets, the less interesting it is. The closer to the $500 mark it gets, the more interesting it is. The truth of the matter is it's likely going to be somewhere in between. At $700 to $800, it's like competitive with computers you can build at that price. And it has a cool design, like a small form factor build, etc. But I'm not sure it's gonna like set the world on fire at that price point. But unfortunately, that's probably where it's gonna be. Now, we'll have to see what happens when it launches. Now, there's also been a bunch of rumors about Half-Life 3. So the Half-Life 3 was rumored to possibly be announced soon, and it would have, possibly have made sense to announce it when they were announcing the Steam machine, etc. Some people were expecting that to be the case. However, it could also make sense to delay the announcement of Half-Life 3 until closer to the Steam machine actual launch, rather than just its initial reveal. So that's more of what I would expect. Now, it could also happen anywhere in between the launch date and then. And if you're like, wait, Half-Life 3 might actually be happening, well, they might not call it Half-Life 3, but if you've followed this, there have actually been a lot of credible evidence in source code leaks with Source Engine, etc., all sorts of things that there is a new Half-Life project under development. And so there's a good chance this is coming. This particular article is referencing some specific insiders like Nate the Hate, who has a solid track record, saying that his source spoke about Half-Life 3, however had conflicting information. One of them saying that giving a date that's already passed. So that does question some of that. But again, other leakers saying that it could be coming, this week, etc. So we'll have to see. But there is likely a new Half-Life game coming fairly soon, and it would make sense for it to be available around the launch of the new Steam machine and Steam frame, etc. But we'll have to see what happens with that. Now, in other gaming-related news, Unity and Epic Games have announced a partnership. And the biggest outcome of this is going to be that Unity games can actually be in the Fortnite ecosystem. So I don't play Fortnite, but my understanding of what's going on there is that you can kind of, like within Fortnite, of course, you can play the normal Battle Royale mode, but you can also load up more like user-created content, and that there's revenue sharing with content creators, etc., related to that situation. So that the idea is that Fortnite can be more of a launching off point to get into various gaming content. So this would then allow Unity games to enter into that system, which seems a little bit, odd considering the fact that, Fortnite is famously not only on Unreal Engine, but developed by Epic Games, the owners of and developers of Unreal Engine, right? So that's why this is kind of big news in that sense. It also looks like Unity commerce tools will now also have Unreal support. So there's some kind of reciprocation of that. But it's certainly from a scale perspective, I think it's a bigger deal that Unity games can enter the Fortnite ecosystem for that kind of creator content, etc. Now, in other big gaming news, what's selling the most right now? So we've got some interesting stats coming from, it looks like Circana Research. And this is both October best-selling games as well as year-to-date 2025 best-selling games. Now, it is important to note that there's some caveats here with like digital sales from Nintendo is not reported and included, as well as digital sales on Nintendo and Xbox platforms not included for certain game titles here. So that's something to note. In other words, so it's based on this particular data set where they can get reports. That being said, our top-selling games for October of 2025 is number 1, Battlefield 6, and number 2, Pokemon Legends Z and A. Now, again, if Pokemon is number 2, but not including the digital sales, which is what it looks like here, maybe it's really number 1. Pokemon's a really big deal, right? But Battlefield 6 has been doing extremely well. You can see Ghost of Yotai at number 3, NBA 2K26 at number 4, EA Sports FC 26 at 5, Madden NFL 26 at 6. So you can see that, sports games are generally, up there in sales. There's a lot of gamers who maybe don't really fit into just gaming overall, but they play their particular sport game all the time, every year, that kind of thing. Definitely a certain type of gamer out there. But there's some interesting stuff, like games like Red Dead Redemption 2 still being in the top 20, despite how old it is, right? That kind of Grand Theft Auto 5 at number 19. You can also compare to last month's rank with all of these. So interesting stuff. But then taking a look at 2025 year to date, I think it's pretty interesting that Battlefield 6 is now number 1 year-to-date sales, despite the fact that it released late into the year. This is a October release, and yet manages to be number 1 year-to-date, at least again for this particular data set, which is pretty interesting. NBA 2K26 as the number 2 result, and Monster Hunter Wilds at number 3. Borderlands 4 is in the top 5 here at number 4. And EA Sports College Football 26 rounding out the top 5. Oblivion Remastered coming in at number 6. Black Ops 6, not the new Black Ops 7, but last year's release, coming in at number 7. Madden NFL 26 at number 8. MLB The Show 25 at number 9. So again, sports games in the top 10 for sure. Ghost of Yotai coming in at number 10. And again, that's year to date. Elden Ring Night Rain shortly out of the top 10 at number 11. And again, you can look at the rest right here. I'm happy to see games like Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 at number 14. I mean, I know that's not the absolute top, but if you look at the kind of games at the absolute top, like the big sports franchises, Battlefield, Call of Duty, systems-heavy RPG like Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 coming in this high is pretty interesting to me. Anyway, in rounding out the gaming news, we also have the Golden Joystick Awards 2025 results, and Clair Obscur Expedition 33 was the big winner there, with wins in 7 of the award categories. Let's go ahead and take a look at at a bunch of the categories, though. So, the winner for Best Storytelling was Clair Obscur Expedition 33. Best Multiplayer Game is Peak. Beating out Battlefield 6 there, maybe not in sales, but getting the win for Best Multiplayer Game. Best Visual Design was Clair Obscur Expedition 33. Best Indie Game, where they did not include Clair Obscur Expedition 33, is Blueprints. I keep meaning to check this game out, but I haven't yet. I keep hearing it's really great. Anyway, Best Indie Game that was self-published went to Hollow Knight Silksong. Still Playing Award, PC and console, is Minecraft, because people are definitely still playing that. Still Playing Award on mobile is Pokemon Go, which has been around a long time and still seems pretty dang popular. Best Remake or Remaster went to Elder Scrolls Oblivion Remastered. Now, I've got to say, from a PC performance perspective, no. But I guess, I do like Oblivion, and it did give it a big, fresh coat of paint on there and all that. Studio of the Year went to Sandfall Interactive. Best Game Expansion went to Lies of P. Best Audio Design went to Ghost of Yote. Best Soundtrack went to Clair Obscur Expedition 33. I'm happy it won that. I thought the music in Clair Obscur was excellent. Best lead performer went to Jennifer English, who played Mael in Clair Obscur Expedition 33. Best supporting performer went to Ben Starr, who plays Verso in Expedition 33. PC Game of the Year went to Hollow Knight Silksong. Console Game of the Year went to Ghost of Yotai. Best Early Access Game went to Repo. Best Gaming Hardware went to the AMD Ryzen 9 9950X 3D. And I think it should have been the 9800 X 3D, but, you know, I mean, for gaming hardware, this sometimes loses to the 8-core part. Just saying, and this costs more, but whatever. Okay, anyway, looks like the 9800 X 3D was not on the option list here, so interesting. Best game adaptation went to Arcane Season 2, which I watched and thought was good. Best game trailer went to the Grand Theft Auto 6 trailer number 2, not trailer number 1. Most wanted game, unsurprisingly, went to GTA 6. And Breakthrough Award went to Schedule 1. Streamer's Choice went to Peak, Hall of Fame. The Sims. Critics' Choice, Donkey Kong Bonanza. And Ultimate Game of the Year award went to Clair Obscur Expedition 33. So I'm curious what you guys think about that list. Again, this is the Golden Joystick Awards. There's a bunch of other, awards coming out, award ceremonies, etc. But anyway, interesting stuff. Let me know what you guys think. Don't forget to check out the awesome deal from Flexispot in the pinned comment, sponsored link in the video description as well. I hope all of you have an excellent day.